While still retaining that lightheartedness, I feel like the end of episode 3 and the episode 4 of In the Land of Leadale really kind of showed me exactly what I was kind of expecting from the series with its opening. It's very kind of tragic opening. This idea of this girl seemingly having died, being moved to this new world, that's obviously jumped forward in time. The expectation that she's no longer what she used to be, and she's now alone. But additionally, and kind of surprisingly enough, just how much significance there is in the idea that they have this whole kind of adoption system within this game, and how that kind of comforts her. And I really like that. It's a very different spin on what you would get from a trapped in an MMO or a transported to another world concept. Typically, it's I'm now here, I want to figure out how to get back, or it's now I'm here and let's get overpowered, or build a nation. Technically with this one, like I said, it's a different take. It's a different feel. It's a very, now I'm a mother kind of feel. Now I have a family kind of feel. And that's kind of where I'm getting a very unique feel from this series. Now, I skipped my impressions on episode 3 because I really wasn't planning on covering the show from a weekly basis. What we get from the first 2 episodes is this idea of, okay, now she's here, let's give her a focus. And that focus was go to all these towers that are essentially player caches. Each player seemingly gets a tower, and these towers are like their base, where they can go to and store their stuff and apply their mana to the kind of guardian there. And we get where Kaina actually finds one of these towers while she's doing a quest. And what she finds out is this whole quest was kind of centering around this tower, giving a spectral figure to draw attention to itself. And she goes there, she applies her mana, and this tower's like, my master's gone, can you be the new master? So it then implies Kaina's alone. She no longer has other players in this world. Obviously, it's seeming like that would be the case because, again, she supposedly died, and it's now 200 years later in this world. Something significant has changed. And even the Guardian themselves are applying a time gap. I mean, they could have been upgraded to see a time gap, but the implied thing is that this is 200 years later no matter what. And what was interesting is after this whole conversation with this Guardian, something hits Kaina. She realizes I'm actually alone. No matter if I go and activate all these towers, it doesn't matter because the players are gone and I'm alone. And she falls into a depression. Now again, it doesn't feel like this writer cares to keep it stuck in that darkness. Let's not get that wrong. It really does feel like, and as you see with the beginnings of the next episode, with episode 4, it's like, I got hungry and went out and ate, and then I realized it's not that big of a deal. It's like, it doesn't even sit on her long. Obviously, there's even goofiness happening around her as Scargo goes in there and he's all, Mom, and then she just basically punches him and knocks him out, and then closes herself in. But even still, she gets hungry and then she goes out and she eats. This writer it doesn't seem like this writer wants to have this be a heavy story. Even though there's so many heavy subjects around it, I think it's trying to distract from it with Kaina's family. And that's what Kaina comes to, is like, even though there's no other players, at least I now have a family. She realizes that no matter what, this is her family now. And she doesn't really, it's not as if she's accepting that this is reality, but it almost seems like she's doing that. Like she's accepting that these are real people, not NPCs now. This is her family because of how warm Kartats is and how Scargo and Mai are just goofballs. She still is going to kind of accept them as a family, and this becomes her new thing to gravitate to. And additionally, with episode 4, we have her basically take this caravan to this location, bandits attack, and it was funny because at first I thought she laughed, and then I was like, no wait, I don't think she's laughing, I think she's upset. She's turning her gaze. And then, yeah, sure enough, they're trying to establish this idea that Kaina now sees, kind of following the whole thing with the whole new family aspect with these children that she now has, is this idea that she now sees NPCs as people. Like, they're no longer NPCs to her. She's now seeing them as people. Her increased senses and the idea of her being established there, now it feels like it's a reality. And now seeing people die, which, let's be honest, I felt like they pretty much, I don't know, it's one of those, maybe a little more insight into her mindset would have helped it a little better, but this whole idea of being disgusted by seeing people dying, one guy's, her centaur is literally kebabbing like 3 people and swinging them around in a circle after it just pierced their hearts, and she seems like she's upset by this, and then immediately she goes over and freezes and shatters a guy into pieces. It's like, well, if you now see these as people, you did not hesitate to just basically wipe out this guy. Now, the argument's that she's trying to protect people, but She could have knocked him out. I assumed when she jumped down from the big pig that she was going to go up there and knock the guy out because she wanted to stop the situation. But no, it was literally, let me obliterate this person into a million clumps of meat. That's what I would feel when I'm having this difficulty and I'm about to puke because I'm realizing people are dying around me and they're people, not NPCs. But again, that's just me pet peeving. I still like that though. I like that concept of her now seeing this world as reality. It was kind of like my whole thought process surrounding Full Dive. I had my issues with Full Dive, let's be honest. But there was one thing that was really cool was that the later parts of it, despite him knowing this is a video game, it's a VR MMO game, and he gets towards the later part of the series and he starts to realize, wow, I was really mean to this girl. She lost her brother and I ran off and I killed that guy. They have a life here and I ruined it. It's that moment where reality and the game itself collide. And I've always liked that concept. It was something that I think the first case where I ran into that situation was Log Horizon. It's this feeling of, are these really NPCs? Are these humans? Do we treat them as if they are disposable, or do we see them for what they are? They're husbands, wives, daughters, sons, sisters, brothers, cousins. They're people. And I like that. And I'm curious of how much they'll explore that, because the way that this writer so far has set this up is, here's your family, here's your new family, here are people. Do you want to lose anybody? And she's getting there. She's getting that point where she wants to protect people around her and not just go with the game. Despite all the serious stuff, I still love, again, it's not playing too heavy. It's still keeping that fun nature that the series is kind of opened up with. Now, granted, with the first episode, that funness and that laid backness, I was blah with it. But easily with the second episode, the introduction of Kartots, all the sons and daughters of kinda the goofy sibling issues, the Kartot running off saying, you guys deserve it. The goofy siblings that they have established, I love. And it's funny because I've never really cared much for the My First Baby types of storytelling, where typically with harems, they'll have the cute little girl that comes into the picture and it's like, oh, well, there's the daughter that you can't really establish right now because you're a harem and you can't have actual relationships because harems don't allow actual relationships. But this is one of those pre-established things, and this play out that she's like a mom figure is really funny. And that that massive amount of fear that they have for her, because she's technically like this legend of 200 years ago, technically, is just so funny. I love how they're playing off that aspect, and it keeps that kind goofiness in there still. Oh, I did like in the third episode, because they had this whole thing where my husband's like, you can't tell anybody about these potions because it'll completely flip over the economy. And then it's like 2 seconds later, scene change, and now he's telling her, can you tell the entire class how to make this potion? And I'm like, wait, didn't you just... And then she sure enough points it out. You just told me not to do that. And then, like, this whole aspect of her just throwing it together and going, there it is. Later. Wait, how'd you make the glass? I ain't telling you. I did like that. It was like this whole thing of like, well, you just told me not to do it, so I'm not going to do it. But at any rate, I'm still loving this show. And like I said, it's like that, despite that fear of them never really getting into what they're obviously setting up as a heavy subject, they're technically getting into it, but in a very soft way. This writer, I think, has a really good way of kind of not getting dark, but still kind of introducing dark elements to the story. Not getting heavy, but still showing the drama that technically the character's going through. And I cannot wait for more of it. This is definitely turning out to be my surprise of a weekly basis, what I want to watch every week. But that's my thoughts on the episodes. Let me know down in the comments if you're enjoying this series, or if you're going to be checking it out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon or through our tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.